What's up, guys? So just doing a few more basic videos, kind of coming back to the Maya ones that I did a few months ago. I am doing these on the fly, so I'll try not to ramble too much. But picking up where we last left off, we were building some chess pieces. I showed how to build a basic pawn just using simple geometric forms, and then we talked about using the Boolean function to make a bishop. If you need to remind yourselves on how Boolean works, please check out the bishop video. It's part 2. This is probably part 3 then. So let's take a look at the rook. The rook has a little bit more complication going on at the top. We're probably going to Boolean some more stuff. So let's start by going back to poly modeling, starting with a cylinder, pressing F on my keyboard. If I go too fast, you can pause, or you can like play the video slower. And then I'm going to, again, using my left hand on QWER, I'm going to start scaling up. Now, the main component of the rook is that top piece and how it's kind of divided. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate my cylinder, stretch it up, and then pull it inwards. And then I'm going to create a hollowed cylinder with that Boolean function again. So I'm going to click on the one that I want to keep first, hold Shift, click on the second one, then back under my modeling toolkit, use Boolean. We learned about this last time. And then I'm going to change union to difference. And boom, now I've got the start of a hollowed piece. So my goal now is to cut out basically pieces right here, like a chunk here, etc. And I could probably do that using some boxes. So let's go ahead and model a box, or kind of an X of boxes that'll be used. I'm going to push that up here. That'll be nice, but let's do it all at the same time. So I'm going to duplicate this box, go to my rotate tool, and I'm going to rotate that exactly 90 degrees. I'm not sure if we covered that in one of the other videos or not. It's been a while. To do that, if I click on one of the axes, the X, Y, or Z, I can click on the one that I want to rotate, and then over here, again, in the modeling toolkit, I can adjust at specific numbers or specific degrees. Boom. Now, I could Boolean each one of these at the, individually, or I could select both of these to make an X, Boolean them together, and then one more Boolean, boom, I've got that top piece of the rook. Now, I don't know if I really need to cover the rest. The rest should be pretty easy. You're just doing your basic cylinder stuff and stretching the cylinders out. We covered that in the last video. So let's talk about the top of the queen. The top of the queen has some other advanced stuff going on with it. Actually, it doesn't look that advanced now that I'm looking at it. We see that it's got this kind of like jagged edge to it. Pretty easy. We're going to start kind of the same way we did the rook, where I want to get a hollowed out cylinder to start with. So I'm going to create a cylinder, duplicate it, make it taller but thinner, subtract it from my cylinder before with the Boolean function, go to difference. And now, if we remember, I could use that multi-cut tool, multi-cut right down here, and hold Control on my keyboard, and I can create some extra vertices to play with here. Just hold right click to switch over to vertex mode, and I am going to stretch these out a little bit. Just one, there we go. So now I could go and select all the vertices that I want to raise or lower, or I could just right click, go to edge mode, boom, and then select every other edge on the top here. So I'm holding shift, I'm clicking on just those top edges. It's important that I don't accidentally click one of the ones that I don't want to move. So holding shift and clicking on those top edges. Sorry if I've seemed rushed, I just want to cover these quick techniques. Boom. So I have all those edges selected. Now if I hit W to go back to move tool, I can move them up or down. And look at that. I've got the start of the kind of jagged edge or the crown of the queen. I could probably push that out a little bit and start playing with that. The inside of the queen is pretty easy. If I go back and look at the one I already built, back in object mode, it's just like basically like a sphere stretch with an egg shape. I mean, here, let's just make that really quickly, just for the sake of having it all in one video. It's basically just this guy. Command D to duplicate it, shrink it up with the scale tool. And look, I've got the inside of the queen, and the rest is just another complication of the pawn. It's just adding some rings, adding some embellishment, and boom, you've got the basic building of a queen. So let's talk about the basic building of a king. So once again, we talked about, get rid of the owner there. With the rook, we talked about just a little bit more advanced booleening. With the queen, we talked about expanding that and using the edge mode to push the top edges down after multi-cutting. With the king, I want to talk about extruding. Where am I at for time? A little over 5 minutes, we're good. So if I look at the top of the king, the identifier for the king is just that cross on top. And I'm gonna try to do that with just one box using another cool tool. So let's start with one box. Press F to zoom in on the box. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger so we have something to work with. Now, I could go to face mode and I could move individual faces. I could even like scale individual faces and start creating stuff. But there's this really cool tool over here in the modeling toolkit that I haven't talked about yet called Extrude. If I click on one of the faces and then click Extrude, I think the hotkey is actually Command E. Now I can use these tools to pull up that face and now have like a whole extension face. So maybe this is like the top part of the king, and then if I go to face mode and select that face, I can squish that. Now I'm going to select this face, hold shift, select the other face, and extrude them at the same time, and pull them both out. And you can kind of see the cross being built here. Let's extrude that bottom piece once more, pull that down, and I'm going to maybe scale it just to give it a little bit of flourish or embellishment. And boom, I have got the startings of the cross. All that takes is just a little bit more adjusting work, or maybe I think I did a few more faces on that guy. But again, covering the basics of creating the top of the rook, creating the crown of queen, and then using extrude to create more complicated shapes to make the king. Thanks.